It is difficult to lodge an appeal if you have not stated for the record at the lower level what your objections are to one of the courses of action. So if that's a possibility for the board, it's just something to consider. And that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Ellie. Governing Board, in reviewing the petition and looking at all aspects of the petition, knowing the impact that this transfer would have on our fellow neighbor, Calistoga Joint Unified School District, and the potential impact of that slippery slope that I've talked about before with other issues when you one-off decisions, it is my recommendation that you as a board deny this petition. President Conwell?
Okay, thank you very much. At this point, I'd like to open it up for public comment on this agenda item. Be advised 3 minutes is maximum, please, to allow the rest of the trustees to discuss this. So if anybody would like to speak publicly at this time, this would be a good opportunity to do so.
I'm Glenn Cook. Okay. My wife and I own the parcels in question, and we have owned the parcels for quite some time. We've recently done a lot line adjustment to create a place for the kids and to have a separate house for ourselves. This has been a serious roller coaster ride for us, because when the kids moved back, our children went to St. Helena schools. When the kids moved back, it was our assumption that they would go to St. Helena schools. And so that turned out not to be the case because of increased enforcement recently. That's my take on it, since 4 generations have come to St. Helena schools and have lived on the same parcels. It was my assumption that because of history and convenience that the same would hold. But in fact it didn't, and so we were very disappointed. Our friends are the children of our friends, the grandchildren of our friends, have always gone to St. Helena schools. It's just been our social milieu. And so it turned out that, yes, possibly they could continue to go to St. Helena schools. Sean was planning on doing some work in St. Helena. She's a highly skilled student. She was valedictorian here in St. Helena High School. And she is highly skilled in math and science and undertook tutoring in those subjects. And so it looked like the kids would be able to go, my grandchildren would be able to go to St. Helena schools. And so we were, happy again. And then it turned out that the tutors were going to be exempted from having the kids go to school. So the roller coaster went down again. And then it looked like there was a chance that maybe they'd be grandfathered in. And so we were happy again. And
I'm sorry, we got 3 minutes and we've got, I'm sorry, you've used up your time, sir.
I wish I had had more detail.
Yeah, I know. If you'd like to have somebody else speak on your behalf.
If any members have questions that are very specific and very technical, I'm probably the best person to answer those.
Okay, thank you.
Not legal questions.
Thank you, yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Senior lot up here, so Sean Mora. I guess the only thing I can address for you for North Fork, Crystal Springs Road, you talk about a concern of a slippery slope. There are no other residential properties on our street. I think there are 8 homes. They're all commercial or second homes, and they are not registered to vote. So there, in my opinion, there is no concern for the rest of the North Fork. I don't know what other areas you have that might be a slippery slope. But for us, just the fact that across the street, 50 yards from my house, 50 feet from my house, is school district is St. Helena. And again, just the continuity of our generations. And I guess we've been zoned for Calistoga since at least the 1920s is what I'm looking at from tax returns. But every single student on my street, kid, has attended the St. Helena School District. So, it really is just something that in our bus that I took goes right by our house, 0.2 miles. And I know, at least the language is we allege that it's a unsafe walk to the Calistoga bus stop. It is. It's, I don't know, not quite a mile, but on the trail between where Rombauer Winery is and Bale Lane. So it's extremely unsafe. And my kids did take the bus to and from school before we moved here. So that was my intent. But they are not eligible to take the bus now because I am not in zone. That's part of the language or the rules of taking the bus. If you're not in the district, you can't take the bus. So we drive. And again, if you have questions, happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Jim Haslip. I'm on that committee you're referring to. I'm on the county board. And so therefore, I've taken a look at the property and I've spoken with the petitioners. And I've also had the other county representative, the one who represents Calistoga, Jennifer Kresge, has returned to the property with me. Both looked it over. Just giving you the background, the Crystal Springs Road is a main road that goes on the other side of the trail that cuts through the school district property. That goes from just below the hospital and that cuts all the way over to the trail. And so if you live in that area, almost all the roads, all the little roads off of that, all of those kids, everybody on Crystal Springs Road is in the school district, except at the very end, it makes a little hook of looks like about 300 yards to me, and goes down to the highway with nobody on either side of the road, and it connects into the trail. Going back off to the road, off a little like a chicken wing end of it, there's like a cul-de-sac, except that in the country you don't call them cul-de-sacs. A little road that goes up the hill. It doesn't end. There's no way to go out. And I've been on the road before collecting signatures for various issues involving the school district. So I always thought it was in the school district. But it's definitely part of the presence of the school district. That particular little road certainly is not connected or anywhere near anything else where any other kids in Calistoga would go. So that's one thing. So that's proximity issue. Safety issue, there is a school bus stop that comes around through Crystal Springs, and there's a place for it to stop where these houses are about 100 yards, 200 yards away. Now, if they didn't take that and they took a bus by Calistoga, the nearest bus stop is you would walk, it's a little over about a mile or something, about a mile. So I've gone on that a couple times and taken Jennifer with me. There's no sidewalks. There's no even good area to get off the road along Crystal Springs Road in that little connection to the highway. Then when you get to the highway, the people are going 55, 60 miles an hour, and the bus stop is on the other side of the street. And even if a bus stopped along that highway, it would be unsafe, partly because there's turns in the highway in both ends there's a turn just before you come into the Crystal Springs section, which wouldn't be safe for a bus to stop there. And then you go a little further up, and there's another turn in the road. And then you go Bale Lane, if you know where Bale Lane is. Okay, so you go across Bale Lane, and that's narrow, and there's a bridge there that's not large enough.
Sorry, Jim,
that's all right.
your public comment is ours today.
Okay, no
Next
problem.
time you get
Yeah,
discussion.
We'll be going over it again. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Sorry about that. Is there any other public comment? Okay. As you know, we hold our meetings in public, and that's what we're doing. So we have to have time to deliberate and talk. And so at this point, what I'd like to do is ask the board members if they have any questions for legal counsel at all before we start on discussions. Does anybody have any questions concerning anything that was presented in the presentation?
So my question would be, so as far as the properties that may, maybe I'll start differently. I don't see so right now the property tax is going to Calistoga, is that correct? Their property tax?
Yes.
And then so how much is it, so if they were to become part of St. Helena Unified, would those taxes then be transferred to St. Helena?
Yes. Excuse me. Yes.
And then, like, roughly how much is that then, that Calistoga would be?
I think I'll direct that to Dr. Wilson.
I'm going to give you round numbers because I don't have the actuals with me. Currently, Calistoga Joint Unified receives approximately $45,000 in property taxes to support their school system. In the event that the properties were transferred to St. Helena, according to the county treasurer, approximately $29,000 of those dollars would come to St. Helena Unified, and the other dollars would be distributed to other agencies, pest control, Napa Valley College, the county office, and a number of other entities.
Okay. And then as far as the other properties, then what is the zoning on all those other properties? Is it just agricultural zoning then? I mean, would they be able to be developed into some kind of housing, just because we know that there's a housing shortage here in St. Helena and throughout the valley? Could it be zoned into housing at some point?
I'm not aware of what the zoning is for the other properties.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you. That's all I've got right now. Thanks.
Trustees, any other questions? Okay.
So, President Conwell, at this point, I'm going to recuse myself for personal reasons from discussion and action.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So, oops. See, now our 3 minutes is up. Okay, just kidding. I guess I'll go ahead and start. For me, my biggest issue is we try to be great neighbors with Calistoga, and we want to be great neighbors with all of our districts. And there was a time when we got on this board a long time ago, and we were suing each other over SELPA issues and special education and trying to do things up in Angwin. And I am very concerned about taking that kind of money of $45,000 a year away from Calistoga. And in effect, we wouldn't get all of it, but we would get part of it. And to me, that would set a bad precedent. So I'm concerned about that. And then I'm also not only concerned about this area, but I'm concerned about anybody else who's adjacent on our tax line that is interested in possibly doing this, and whether there's an equitable ability to do it. So if you are on the tax line and you have a means to be able to go through the attorney's process, then you possibly could pick another area where it might be us in Napa Unified, and it might be us somewhere else to try to get into our school district. And so I also look at it not just for this one road, I look at it everywhere our boundary goes, that a potential adjacent property could try to come into us. And once again, my concern is more what we're doing to our neighbors, not really what we're doing to us. And so For that reason, or those two reasons, I'm wishing to oppose what's been presented today.
You know, I just want to comment. Those were precisely the reasons why I was opposed to it as well. And I just want to say, so we've in 2010 when we were elected, it was where our district at that time wasn't, as Jeff said, was not a good neighbor. And when I came on this board, that was my biggest priority, was to be a good neighbor to all of our districts. And I don't feel comfortable with possibly taking away tax money from Calistoga, so that's mainly why I would be opposed to this as well.
And I would concur with Jeannie and Jeff. The main concern I have is the real impact that we would have on Calistoga's revenue. I'm really torn because the situation is it's not a family that's moved in and they're trying to increase the value of a property that they've already bought for $15 million, and they think they can sell it for more. This is a family that's been in the valley and in the community for generations. So it's a really hard decision. It almost feels unfair to oppose, but again, I feel that we have grandfathered the current students that live on the property to attend our district, and I think that for future, I think that our relationship with Calistoga is really important, and so I would also deny the appeal.
President Conwell, if I could simply clarify, the resolution to grandfather the children in is going before the board tonight for action.
Of course. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
So I kind of had the same line of thinking as a lot of fellow board members about the effect it's going to have on Calistoga. And in essence, I mean, as a district, we're really lucky that we have a strong and stable budget, and so taking money away from another district just doesn't sit well with me. The other thing too, just and kind of talking about just how you guys have been here for generation on generation, and so I understand that as well. But right now the district enrollment is super high, and I'm a second generation from St. Helena, and so I understand the want of having your kids and your grandkids potentially go here, but I mean, that's just a reality right now, that anyone that moves here or wants to go in the district has to make that sacrifice to live within the district, and almost everyone that wants to come to our school and wants to get in this way as a guarantee checks before moving in a district. And I know obviously you guys have had this property for a very long time, and so that you would never know what would happen in the future, but there's just so many people that want to come to school, and so I feel that just moving the district line for those families is an equity issue, because not everyone has property like that or adjacent or right on the border where you could possibly move it. So for me, that just wouldn't seem right to just move it so that your grandkids could go, because there's a lot of other second generation children and grandparents that want their kids to come here as well. But unfortunately, it can't happen because not everyone has that property. So on that one, I'm also agreeing with the board right now to disapprove.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is we've got 4-0 to oppose. At this point, we would need, or I asked the board, my thought would be that we would have the superintendent represent us at both Calistoga public meeting and the county meeting, and with it a resolution from the board stating that. Are all the rest of the trustees comfortable with that? This isn't an action item. It's just more, I just want to make sure that we've got the right direction to go forward with this.
I'm fine with that. Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
I'm good with it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Dr. Wilson, is there anything else that we need to do?
Yes, Ellie, if I could turn to you and if you could join us at the microphone. Do you believe you have enough content to draft that resolution, or do you have any questions for the board?
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Thank you. At this point, that brings us to item number 6, adjournment of the special meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay, special meeting is completed. Closed session, 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's just allergies. They just went crazy.
I'm sorry I was late. We had cat drama.